And just like that, the Summer I Turned Pretty has ended forever with episode 11. Following the ups and downs of this final season, with Jeremiah cheating on Belly, him then proposing to her, Conrad ruining the wedding, Belly then moving to Paris, and now we're here. Conrad's on Belly's doorstep the day before her 22nd birthday. This was the episode we'd all been waiting for, and I think it's safe to say that it definitely delivered. With what was basically almost the length of a movie coming in at an hour and 20 minutes, this finale closed out the show in true style, and we finally got to find out if Belly picked Conrad, Benito, or herself. So with that, let's not wait any longer. Let's dive into this episode and break down the ending. Here is The Summer I Turned Pretty Season 3, Episode 11, Ending Explained. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. Belly and Conrad. Well, Belly and Conrad actually got their happy ending, but even in the build-up to it, it felt like there was going to be a moment where it could have all gone wrong. With Conrad in Paris, it was a time that was reminiscent for him. Having not seen Belly in over a year, he spent the day before her 22nd birthday with her, and she played tour guide with him in showing him the sights. Throughout their time in Paris, both Conrad and Belly were having flashbacks to different times in their lives when they were back in the States, and all it kept telling us was that they were both still in love with each other, despite them both not saying it out loud. Conrad was planning on going to Brussels at 8 PM, however, with Belly asking him to stay a little longer and to join her for her birthday celebrations with her friends, it was here where we saw him looking at her interacting with Benito and the jealousy that he had within him. He was fearful that she'd moved on, but we found out that Belly and Benito had actually broken up around 6 weeks ago. When her cake was brought out, she made a wish, but we didn't find out what it was. However, later on in the episode, she said how every year on her birthday, she used to wish for Conrad. So I'm presuming that's what she wished for this time, especially seeing as though within her mind it flashed back to her looking at him. After the birthday celebrations, both Conrad and Belly danced under the full moon by the river as the song with the lyrics "I Only Have Eyes for You" was playing in the background, which foreshadowed them eventually ending up together. And then from there, Conrad asked Belly if she'd moved on, to which she didn't say anything and she just kissed him. This then erupted into the raunchiest scene in the show's history, with us seeing Belly and Conrad finally being together in an intimate way. However, after they were, that was then when the turning point came for Belly. She was almost questioning why she did it, and she feared that Conrad was going to change her life again and cause chaos when she'd only just found stability. Hence why she told him to get the 5 AM train to Brussels and to not miss out on the first day of the conference for her. She said, "Don't change your plans for me because I wouldn't change my plans for you. I have a life here." Conrad ended up telling Belly that he loved her, but she wasn't able to say it back. She feared that he only loved her because his mother put it in his head when he was younger, and that because she died, that was what brought them back together. She thought he wasn't choosing to love her, but instead felt as though he needed to love her, and that wasn't what she wanted. So she kicked him out and basically said that she couldn't be as sure as what he was, so he needed to leave. It was once he left though where Belly realized that she'd made a huge mistake and said that there were a few certainties that she knew about herself. She knew that she had brown eyes, brown hair, and that she loved Conrad. She was now certain, but she was just afraid to admit it. So after realizing that, she went after him, and once on the train, she told him that she chose him of her own free will, and that if there were infinite worlds, then she'd choose him in every one. This then saw them both admit their love for one another, and despite Belly not going back to the States that summer and staying in Paris, she did eventually go back, and her and Conrad were together as a couple at the house in Cousins. They were the endgame, and they were always meant to be. Jeremiah and Denise. This was an arc that I was concerned about because I thought it was going to get shoehorned in as it was only really introduced in the previous episode, but it actually turned out feeling quite appropriate. Everything was going wrong with Jeremiah and his cooking event that he was hosting, and with the bar that it was planned to be in having a leak, the next best option was the house in Cousins. A place that he hadn't been back to since he walked out of the wedding a year ago. Even though he wasn't sure about it, he took the leap and went for it. This was Jeremiah in a completely different light to the way that we'd seen him throughout the entirety of the show. He was mature and he was trying to make something of himself, but even amongst all of that, he was still comparing himself to Conrad and not thinking that he was good enough. However, Denise told him that he shouldn't compare himself to his brother and that he was a 10 out of 10. With Denise, Stephen and Taylor moving to San Francisco, he mentioned how he was fearful of being alone because he'd never truly been on his own in his life before. and he also said that he regretted not kissing Denise. So he went in for a kiss, apologized, but Denise pulled him in closer, showing that she actually felt something. She didn't feel anything with Stephen when they kissed, and that's why they didn't kiss again. But this showed that she did actually have feelings for Jeremiah. Jeremiah's dinner was essentially a success, and his relationship with his father even ended up being repaired, as Adam said that he was proud of his son. During the closing moments, Jeremiah was holding Denise's hand under the table, which showed that he'd moved on from Billy and was willing to be with somebody else now. Another sign that he'd moved on was the fact that they were all drinking his wedding champagne at the event and it didn't bother him anymore. That was the past, and all he cared about was building a stronger future and being able to move on. Taylor and Stephen. In an episode that was emotionally heavy with Jeremiah and Conrad's love arcs, there needed to be a bit of humour, and that definitely came through with Taylor and Stephen. Taylor found out through overhearing Denise that Stephen was planning on moving to San Francisco for his work, and he hadn't told Taylor yet, but this was after she'd recently moved to Boston with him. She tried to play it cool, but she couldn't, and that was where the humour really cut through. However, their story came to a close when they were on the lake, and they addressed that issue, and Stephen said that he didn't want to feel like he was holding Taylor back. This is because he recognized that she'd suffered enough of that when she was with her mother, and he didn't want to make her move to San Francisco. But she came out and said how she wouldn't move for him, she'd move with him, both admitting that the love that they had for each other was a dream for the both of them, and that they wanted to prioritize that. So Taylor and Stephen did end up getting their happily ever after, and I'm glad about it because they definitely deserved it. My review of the episode. I thought this was a solid finale to the show. It opened up in quite a powerful way with the music that was accompanying Conrad waiting for Belly as he was having flashbacks of their time together, and it really set the tone and mood for the next 1 hour and 20 minutes. Belly and Conrad being together always felt like it was on the horizon, didn't it? It's no surprise, and they tried to tease us with Belly picking herself when she asked him to get the train to Brussels, but I didn't think that would be the case at all. If anything, I actually think that was a bit of a shame, because she went from being uncertain on if she loved him to knowing that she loved him in the space of about 90 seconds, maybe even less than that, and I thought it just felt a little bit rushed. I don't know if anybody else thought this, but I felt like there was a cloud of emotion that was hanging over this episode, and I feel like it was like that for a number of different reasons. The first is because there was a sense of finality to it. The show that many people have followed over the course of several years was concluding for good, but also I reckon it's because this was make or break for the relationship that so many people were invested in. So whilst I didn't expect to feel that when I put the finale on, it definitely added to the viewing experience. That scene with Belly and Conrad, you know the one I'm talking about. They didn't hold back with that in the slightest, did they? To be fair, it had been 3 seasons in the making, so I suppose they wanted to go all out with it. It got the passion, emotion, and love across, so I'll give it that. When it came to the other characters in the show, I thought it wrapped up their stories nicely. Taylor and Stephen were together, and Jeremiah and Denise found happiness with each other. I maybe would have liked it if Jeremiah just sought comfort by himself, because I don't think it always has to be somebody needs somebody to be happy. But for the purpose of this story, I thought it worked okay. To be honest, I'd say this is probably the finale that I expected to see, and it didn't fall short when it came to my expectations, so I commend it for that. I expected nothing more and nothing less, so I'd say it did a good job. Before I close off the video, I just want to say thanks for tuning into my breakdowns of The Summer I Turned Pretty over the past 10 weeks. I know it's a little bit different to the type of show that I usually cover, but there's something that hooked me in with the show and the love triangle and drama that it gave us every single week. So seriously, thanks. It's nice to have people to talk with about the show. So, there you have it. The Summer I Turned Pretty Season 3 Episode 11 Ending Explained. If you want to see every episode of The Summer I Turned Pretty Season 3 being broken down, then check the playlist below. What did you think of the finale? Share your thoughts in the comments. As always, thanks for tuning into the video and I'll see you in the next one.